Hi, Year 9. We're going to go ahead into expanding algebraic expressions. So remember, we have an algebraic expression when we have pronumerals and terms with coefficients and pronumerals and constants added and subtracted together. So now we're going to wind up expanding where you have one number outside the brackets, for example, a 2, and then you have maybe x plus 6 as your expression inside the brackets. So our goal when we expand is to write our expression without brackets. And when we write without brackets, that means we have to multiply to get rid of the brackets. So for example, we might use the 2 to multiply by the x because we want to distribute the 2 to the x, and we're going to take that same 2 and multiply it by the 6, positive 6, in order to multiply over addition and get rid of our brackets. So let's try that. If we do this multiplication, we'll have 2 times x, which would make 2x, and then we have 2 times positive 6, which makes 12. And since I said positive, it's a positive 2 because there's nothing in front of the 2, and there's a positive 6 because there's a plus sign in front of the 6, it's going to make a positive 12. So if I get a positive number, I'll write plus, and that will show that I'm adding the 12 onto the end. So again, we are writing our expression without brackets because we multiplied the 2 inside the brackets to the 6 and the x. When you do this, this is called the distributive law. So when you distribute, you're taking whatever is outside the brackets and you're distributing it, just like if I asked you to distribute papers to the class, you'd be giving one paper to every student in the class. So if you have a 2 on the outside of brackets and x plus 6 on the inside of brackets, like our example, we'd have to take the 2 and distribute it to every member of our expression inside the bracket. So I can't leave one expression out. Otherwise, it would be like you guys leaving one student out when you gave the papers out to the class. So we have to make sure we distribute evenly to all terms inside the brackets. Okay, so let's look at another example. In our first example, we have a negative 3 on the outside of the brackets and then x plus 4 on the inside of the brackets. So first, I'm going to take my red marker and I'm going to say negative 3 times x. And that will wind up being negative 3x. If I use the green, I'm going to take negative 3 again, but this time I'm going to distribute it to positive 4. And I want to be thinking of it as a positive 4. So I want to include the sign in front of the number. Negative 3 times positive 4 makes negative 12. So when I write that down as negative 12, I just created the expression negative 3x minus 12. So remember, that minus sign has two meanings. It means minus 12, but it also means that our 12 is negative. Looking at our second example, I'm going to use the same two colors. I'm going to take our positive 5 and distribute it or multiply it by the x, and I will get 5x. Then I'm going to take the 5 and distribute it or multiply it to the negative 6. Again, I want to look at the 6 as negative. I want to include the sign in front of the 6. So positive 5 times negative 6 makes negative 30. Again, when I write it down as negative 30, it makes 5x minus 30. And in our last example, I have a couple negatives. I have negative 2x multiplied by positive 3. So a negative 2 multiplied by positive 3 is going to make negative 6x. And then I'm going to take the negative 2x and multiply it or distribute it to negative x. So now I have a negative times a negative. So I'm going to get positive 2, and then x times x makes x squared. And remember, because you said positive, we're going to put a plus sign in front of the 2. So now I've made the expression negative 6x plus 2x. In this next example, I wanted you guys to be able to see that we have an expanding situation occurring at first. We have the negative 3x multiplying by the 3 minus x, but then you have an extra x added on to the end. We are going to attack this question the exact same way. Do not let that plus x on the end trick you. We are still going to take the negative 3x and we're going to distribute it to the positive 3. So for now, negative 3x times 3 makes negative 9x. And I'll do the same with the negative y. So negative 3x multiplied by negative y. So remember, we want to include that negative sign in front of the y. So a negative 3 times a negative y, right, is going to make a positive. So we put a plus sign for positive. And then we have the 3 as our coefficient. And we have an x and a y. So we're going to put both of them on. Oops. All right. So now we have negative 9x plus 3xy. However, we still have, I'll use purple for this, we still have this plus x on the end. So I'm going to add the x onto the end. So what I'm really looking at now as my answer is negative 9x plus 3xy, and then plus another x. So before I leave this question entirely, I'm going to look at it and see if I can actually simplify any further. And I can, because I have negative 9x and I have a like term of positive x. So I'm going to combine my like terms. So negative 9x plus that last x is going to make negative 8x's. And then the 3xy is not a like term, so I'm going to leave it as it is. So in this question, we had to expand, but then after we expanded, we had to combine like terms. So right here to that last step, we're combining like terms. All right, so just think about what we've been doing over the last couple days. And we're starting to put together all of our skills into one question. So for number 5, for example 5, go ahead and pause the video and try to do this one on your own, and let's see how we do. So did you guys get the same answer? Look at where my red has been written. So 2 times x. The green is 2 times negative 6. And then the purple is the extra minus 3 on the end. And then we combined our like terms of negative 12 and negative 3. So go ahead and take a moment, look back over these 5 examples, mark your notes, and I'll see you guys in class.